Let's see those juice boxes, y'all. Hello, everybody, and welcome to... Hey, now, hold on. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Red Room Talk, y'all. You can find us every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Jen. The Red Room Talk is a show about love, intimacy, and interpersonal relationships, including self, to erase different social stigmas. We are here to have candid discussions to cut through those stigmas to show that in the end, no matter your background, we all have commonalities when it comes to the matters of the mind and the heart. Nothing is off the table in the Red Room Talk. Last episode, if you missed us, that's okay. You can find us on YouTube by clicking the link in my profile and subscribing. Last episode, we talked about the ingredients to a healthy relationship, and this week we are going to discuss the topic insecurities. We have an all-star cast this week. We have my beautiful co-host, Mr. Strawberry, and this week's special guest, Triple G and Mel Bell, all the way over from Meet Me, y'all. Let's find out how the panel feels about insecurities. But before we get started, all that I ask is you keep your mind open and your language clean. First things first, I'm going to let you in the box to introduce yourself, and then we will get started. Hello, everybody. You did. You're on time. If you are here, you are on time. Okay. How are you guys, everyone doing tonight? Welcome to the Red Room. Of course, we are polite here on the Red Room, so we're going to let the beautiful lady, Miss Mel Bell, go first and introduce herself, and then we'll let you introduce yourself, Triple G, and then, yeah.
I'm Mel Bell. I'm from the Meet Me side, as the beautiful Jen and Juice just mentioned. I support these babes on and off this app, and including to use the legal name, but Mr. Strawberry. I run a similar concept show over on the Meet Me side, but I'm a big fan of this and supporter, so I'm happy to be invited back again. I have a few events, but if you follow me on social media, it's pretty much all there. I have a few holiday stuff coming up, but Mr. G.
Ladies, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are. I'm the man who was so nice that his mom had to name him thrice. I'm GGG. I'm a veteran, a U.S. Marine. I try to be a mentor, especially to the young guys on tag, trying to teach them how to really approach women, how to really talk with women, but also how to master their own destiny, how to overcome obstacles, how to accomplish their goals.
Okay. Okay.
It's that voice for me. I'm sorry.
I was thinking it, but I didn't say it. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking it, but I didn't
No,
say
but they said it in the comments too. It's the voice, that voice.
I was gonna say it for all of us, ladies.
it.
Well, I'm the co-host, Mistress Strawberry, aka Fresita, Fresa, whatever you want to call me. You can catch me here right now, this time, every Saturday. I'm also the co-host for every Wednesday in here as well with the beautiful Jen and Juice for her 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I have a show I've been sitting on for like what 2 years now that is in the making. So I'm
Yes,
gonna bring that.
finally coming into fruition.
Yes, and I stream here and there. It's like catch me if you can, basically, or you can always catch me here in Jen's life.
Well, everybody, I am Jen and Juice. I am the host of this show right here, right now. Every Saturday, you gotta say it that way. It does not count. At 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, of course. Also, as she just said, I am also the host of the show Her, when she is one of my beautiful co-hosts. Also, Vicky Secrets, who is on a little vacation because we just had a new addition to her, little Miss Bailey, that was just born. So she's on a little hiatus. But if you guys can also catch me on December 6th, we have a brand new show coming at you. It's called Jen Got the Hookup. It's to find y'all, help y'all find love, at least hopefully. But yeah, make sure y'all tap in for the very first episode on December 6th. And if y'all want to get the hookup, hit me on Instagram for any of those shows. If you guys want to be a part of anything we got going on, y'all, we have a lot of good content, so make sure y'all tap in. But yeah, late nights into early mornings is when you can catch me. But we're gonna go ahead and get started, y'all. Insecurities can often linger in the background, subtly influencing our thoughts and actions. They might stem from various sources, past experiences, societal expectations, or personal comparisons. These feelings can manifest in different ways, affecting confidence and decision making. Surrounding oneself with supportive individuals and cultivating self awareness can help manage these underlying insecurities, allowing for growth and more authentic sense of self. Acknowledging that everyone has their own struggles can also foster a sense of connection and understanding and navigating such vulnerabilities. So that first question is,
Can you share a moment in your life when you felt most insecure, and how did you cope with that feeling?
Ladies first.
oh no, guess what? No. Hold on. We don't listen. You tried it. You tried it. But actually, I'm going to let you go first just for that. Okay. He tried it though. He did try. He did try. It's A for effort.
Um, I think one of my biggest insecurities actually came from when I got out the military because standing 6'5" and with my presence and everything else, I always felt that people were kind of intimidated. So I always kind of put myself in the back burner and always had that insecurity within myself. And then finally, it took me being tired of being alone to really look at myself and really go introspective on myself and realize that either you're going to have to accept me for who I am and how I am, or you're just not.
Okay.
I think one of my biggest moments that was, I guess, memorable with insecurity was probably the first time I became a mom. I think I grew up always having a fear of being one, because of just my upbringing and everything, and it was something that I wasn't in a rush to do. And I contemplated if I was going to be ready to do it. I got into a health condition where I was kind of put in the position like it was either going to be now or never. And I still contemplated, ended up finding out I was pregnant with my now 23-year-old, who's amazing, and one of three. But that being said, it was that insecurity of like, I always felt like allowed the indentation of like the vicious cycle of what I had gone through, and that insecurity of like, am I gonna like? Not only did I become a mom, I became a mom of another, future young lady, and what was that gonna look like? And honestly, I can be completely honest and transparent. I'm 41, and and it took me all the way to my last one to kind of let go of that, if I'm being honest, because it took me that long to kind of just get out of my headspace of being like, there is no manual, there is no right or wrong, and I'm still kind of sorting it out. But there are three amazing humans. They're good human beings. I can't take full credibility for it, but I realized that with anything, which we'll get into, I'm sure, in another part of the question of where I feel insecurity comes from. It can be an indentation of like your upbringing or something traumatic, and so for me, I think it was just leaping into that fear and just kind of seeing the other side of it. If I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, Momo took mine. She took mine. No, I completely agree on that. Me, as I'm a single mother of four children, and having my oldest as a teenager, like no teenager is ready for that. And so my mind, at the time, I'm like, how am I going to do this when I'm still growing myself? So, and like she said, like I think it's my upbringing as well, like all the things I've been through, and you have to be responsible for this child. You have to feed them. You have to do this. You have to do that. Um, and I feel like till this day, I think like she said, my last one is 4 years old. My oldest is gonna be 16 in February. Um, so sometimes I do have those thoughts of like, am I doing it right? Because you don't get a manual for this. You don't. We have to raise these children to be the best as we can be and guide them to be the best them version of themselves. And I deal with that every day because I'm also ever growing and trying to be the best version of me. But I love when I hear good things about my kids because it makes me I'm doing something right when I hear all the good things that I hear about them from other people.
Not Jen just getting us emotional on the first question.
Um, I'm gonna be very vulnerable and honest at this point. I'm gonna tell you my most insecure moment was when I first left my ex and I came back to the app. Honestly, I felt like I wasn't going to have the support. I felt like with the things that were being said that people were going to believe them and that nobody was going to believe me. And then the vulnerability of even just, I think, the insecurity of coming to grips with that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? Because you question yourself very much so going through abuse and things like that. That, like, dang, is this, was that even real? Like to have that moment of just questioning yourself, or are people going to still believe and support me? Not only just that, but the insecurity of coming home and having to face the music that something didn't work that I wanted to work so bad, and have to like face my mom, face my parents, and say that I failed at something, even though it wasn't really a failure, but that's how I felt. I felt like I had failed. I felt like coming home was definitely an insecurity, because before I'd even got with them I had my own everything, and I had to leave all my belongings. I pretty much left my belongings to go there, and then left all the belongings that I had acquired. So to kind of lose everything, it was a huge insecurity, because I'm a very hyper independent person. I don't like to ask nobody for help. I don't like to, even lean on anybody for anything. So that was like a huge insecurity, was to say that I need help. And that was why I probably stayed as long as I did, because I didn't want to have to tell anybody or ask anybody for help. So that was kind of a big thing. Someone's reporting. But yeah, I think that was like my biggest insecurity was just the shape of home, or excuse me, I'm sorry, I was reading a comment, but just the shame of coming home. It just felt like the walk of shame. So, but does anybody else have anything to say? No.
I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
think that everybody has, some overcoming of something, and while I'm not happy that we had these moments, I think it's important to enlighten how all four of us had, even with Mistress and I having similar outbacks of just what that was like, and there are four different scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
and with so many questions when it comes to like insecurities and lying and trust. The common thing is like trend, so to speak. It's so sad to say that, but it is romanticized. And, so I think it's important to like internalize that, with Triple G's, it was from something that was a part of his journey. With you, it was a traumatic experience. And both, even for us, like from different perspectives, for Mistress being like, she should have been at the, like the stereotype, right, of like the prime of her life at her young age. For me, it was like, I don't even know if this is like a step that I wanted to make. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's really validated to everyone to see that when it comes to insecurity, it can come at any time, at any stage. And there's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's just like healing, it's a very ongoing adventure.
Mm-hmm. Well, if y'all are just pulling up, that's okay. You guys, we have so much more to come. You can find us here every what? Come on,
Saturday.
y'all. Saturday. Saturday. I
Saturday,
need y'all to say it.
Saturday.
Every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Red Room Talk, y'all. We just discussed, can you share a moment in your life when you felt most insecure and how did you cope with that feeling? But now I want to dig a little bit deeper. That's also what he said. Societal standards and media representations play a significant role in shaping individuals' perception of body image or self-worth, often leading to feelings of insecurity. The constant portrayal of idealized physiques and lifestyles in advertisements, movies, and social media can create unrealistic benchmarks that many strive to achieve, fostering a culture of comparison. The pervasive imagery cannot distort personal body perceptions, but also influence self-esteem, as individuals may measure their value against the curated ideals. Consequently, the pressure to conform can lead to a self-doubt and a diminished sense of self-worth, perpetuating a cycle of insecurity that impacts mental health and overall well-being. That cultivates not only just body image, but also you think about watching relationships and things that everybody wants to have that, that comparison in life, like everybody's got something better than they do. So that next question is,
In what ways can societal standards and media representation contribute to the feelings of insecurity among individuals, particularly regarding body image and self-worth?
Did you want to take this, Triple G?
See, I wasn't going to say nothing this time.
Well, it's just my opinion that I think that we live in a world, and also playing in the midst of insecurity, people are more likely to share their highlight reel. They're more likely to share the highlight reel of life. Unless you're really paying attention, then you know that that's not all it is, right? And that there's something in there, which is why it's so important. There's those sayings are there for a reason. Check on the people that are the happiest. Check on your tribe. Just saying like, "Hey, how you doing?" can go so far, because people, we wrap ourselves around the highlight reel, and for different reasons, right? Because we want to be around positivity, because we want to see like the great things and see that we're capable of getting there. So they're all good things, right? So you're like telling yourself like, well, I want to look at good things, I don't want to look at sad things. But if you're paying attention and being conscious of it, you can find light. I know it sounds cheesy, but you find light within the darkness, and realizing like this person had such a traumatic story, and we all have our own story at different portions of our life. And then you overcome it, and that's the pretty highlight reel. That could be a highlight reel too. But some people I don't know if it's consciously or subconsciously, we tend to just entertain what looks pretty, or even sadly, it's either or the very ugly. Has anybody ever like, nobody's like liking like something great that's happening. It feels accomplished. You don't need the validity, but it feels nice, right? But then like you might put like, I'm not feeling great today, and all of a sudden someone assumes that you've been dumped or you lost something. I'm like, why are you checking on me now? Like, while I appreciate that, where's the interest? Because I've seen you watch it. That's the capability of being on social media. You can see who's watching, and someone's always watching. And when are people paying attention? And how much control are you going to take that over your mind to being like, how much, uh, you know, credit, energy are you going to allow someone to have? We say we don't care, and it's usually when we care the most, and that's just the reality of it. It's a sad reality, but it is.
This is a subject that a lot of men gloss over, but we deal with it as well. We don't look at the fact that it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort to achieve that quote unquote Prince Charming status, that alpha male status that everyone's talking about in social media and everything else now. They don't realize they don't realize that it's cultivated, that it's something that you have to grow and mature into. We live in a cookie cutter society because that's all we see. You think about it. When you watch TV, what are you watching? You're not watching a full movie. You're watching a trailer, and that trailer gives you the best parts of the movie. When people are talking about a movie, most of the things they talk about is the ending. They don't talk about everything that somebody went through to get to that point. One of the perfect examples, The Notebook. If you look at The Notebook, awesome love story. Yes, guys, I looked at The Notebook. I watched The Notebook. It's an awesome love story. But the thing is, you don't realize until the end of the movie that the guy who was going through so much trying to be the one for that lady and dealing with all of his insecurities and shortcomings and everything else, you don't realize that he's that man at the end holding her, loving her, and dying with her. But we look at the end saying, oh, that's so sweet, but we don't look at the hell that he had to go through to get to that point. And guys, it's mainly, a lot of it falls on us because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. We deal with those insecurities. We bury those insecurities. And I think that's also where you get a lot of this talk, a lot of this grief and everything else from. And you get all this guys over asserting themselves, or guys trying to be bigger and better than what they really are and trying to hide it. You're right, because when we talk about it, the world makes it look like we're weak. But I always have a phrase: through strength, I can conquer. Through weakness, I get stronger. So if I'm expressing my weakness, I'm not expressing it to show you that I'm weak. I'm expressing it to show you that I need help getting stronger and where I'm deficient. And once I get stronger, I can move on to the next level.
What I call that is like the simp mentality, where if a man shows any type of emotion or like things like that they call them simps or whatever. When that's just, you should be loving a woman, because if you're not loving a woman, I'm gonna start thinking you're something else. But we'll go talk about that later on another episode. Go on, mistress.
But like you said, the simp mentality, the whole like Russell Wilson, perfect example. How him and Sierra got together, he's raising her son as his own and all that. And all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, he's a simp, or oh, he's whipped, or he's that. Like, no.
He respects his woman.
Yeah, he respects and loves, and he knew going into that relationship she had a child already. And he knew, well, I love her, I'm gonna love him as well.
As you should. If you're walking,
but that goes along with listening to the crowd, because a lot of times us men, we are so susceptible to listening to the crowd and what other guys are saying versus what's actually going on at home. We're listening to what everyone else is saying outside and what everyone else's perspective is. except for the perspective that really matters.
Yo, woman.
And that's what
Uh-huh.
drives part of our insecurities is because your friends and everybody, oh, you're falling for that brat. She got 4 kids. You're a simp. No, not the fact that I love this woman and I love her kids as my own.
Mm-hmm.
No, now you're a simp, and then you start to listen to that instead of building what you have at home and letting them be
Mm-hmm.
envious of what you have at home, and you just keep it moving.
I want to say some women too.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Some women, it's not all women, but some women too. They say they listen to their girlfriends and having all these things in their head, and like, girl, don't do this and girl, do that, and then in reality, them listening to them, they're not even putting the work and the effort into their own relationship because they listen to Samantha and Tara telling them, "Girl, it ain't even worth it." But you might as well just be with us because they're envious. Some women be envious of other women's relationships, even friends. You have to be careful with. This is why I always be like, I vent or I might talk about certain things to only certain, you know how you got like certain friends for certain things. Not
Mm-hmm.
venting to all my friends about stuff. But women, it's women do the same thing too.
I mean, we also need to dig deeper though. Like we're like the in between. It's not always romantical, right? So
Uh-huh.
insecurities also stem that a man's going to feel more transparent, to be like permission to be more transparent with whoever, whenever he feels emotionally like protected, not
Mm-hmm.
so much valued, like protected of like this is a genuine safe space. I pride myself that like I have a group of gentlemen that I know that there is no side. People can sit there and paint it black and white. Could I admit that at one point I would be easy susceptible to being believing like, oh, they're just trying because somebody else's insecurity of saying like, no, they're just trying to sleep with you or sleep with you. That there is nothing like that. That there is such an emotional connection that you can hype up your people, whether they're a man or a woman, and people don't like to talk about that. We add things to simping when and initially there's not even a so-called sexual attraction there. It's not even based on that. It's literally it could be. And why do we have to feel like we have to explain it or not talk about it at all? Nobody wants to do that. It's like I'm not, I might feel comfortable telling one person, like Mistress said, about something, but because someone just makes an assumption about it, now I'm either going to shut down altogether, not talk about it, or I'm going to feel the need to explain myself to that person and therefore losing respect for myself because now I have to validate myself for something, to be permissible for who I trust and where I feel emotionally protected and safe. And so I think, like, again, we tend, and I don't think we mean to, I think it's just like wired in our brain. We connect anything emotional, our beliefs, our mental beliefs, like, to like that we can only have that with a best friend or a
Like it's
romantic
always
partner.
black and white. It's
Yeah,
never a shade of gray for anyone.
it
Um,
took me years to realize that, like me being a hype person for my people, if someone had a problem with that and labeled it, that was their issue. That didn't mean that it didn't feel great, like to feel like judged like that, but to be like, I don't have to like sever the rope, but I can extend it.
right.
I'm so sorry that nobody applauded you from afar, and just not necessarily having to say that either, just to make myself feel better.
So my answer to this question and my last question kind of go hand in hand, and I'm gonna tell you why. Um, So, why I think in what way societal standards and media represents contribute to feelings of insecurity among individuals? Well, the relationship I was in, and I'm going to tell you because so many people envied that relationship, but they had no clue what was going on behind closed doors, which not only led to my insecurity of feeling like a liar because I held on to that secret for so long, but also it also goes to show to tell people do not covet thy neighbor. Do not understand that just because of what looks good on the outside does not mean it's good on the inside, because all that glitters is not gold. So those two things like really kind of go hand in hand for me, because so many people, you can ask Mistress, I had people who would come in, they would hate, women would try to destroy it, men would try to destroy it, so many people. But what they really realize is honey, there was nothing to take. You could have it, you know, because what I was dealing with was very ugly. So it was like, I'm like, you guys really think you want this, don't you? Now y'all can have it, okay? By all means, you know. So for me, it was like so many people watched and wanted to be like. They even used to say out loud, even like, man, I wish I had that. Like, no, you don't. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You only see what we show you. And that even goes for on here. Like, you know, a lot of people look at me and say, you know, like, oh, like, man, I wish I had that, or I wish I had this, and like, but you don't know what it took to get here. You know, even as far as like being a top badge, or you know, even like the diamond count or anything like that, like people look at there and they don't realize the journey it took to get here. I had to go through literal hell to get here. You know, I fought for this. I worked for this. I spent sometimes 18 to 20 hours a day on here. You know, a lot of things that I did to get here, like it takes work, you know, and that's even the same in, you know, in the relationship aspect. People don't know what they went through. And I even deal with that at home. You know, I see my parents, right? They have this beautiful relationship and I'm like, man, I'm so jealous. Like, I hate when they be loving on each other and he be spinning her in the living room and they be loving on each other. And I remember my pop said to me, he's like, but do you know what we went through to get this? You know, we had to go through horrible relationships. We had to go through all of this. And it took us until we were 40 something years old to find each other. Like, imagine that, to go through all that to find your person. So people don't know what the journey looks like behind closed doors. You only see the finished product, and much like, you know, even Triple G said. So, but y'all, of course, we are at my favorite part of the night. Oh, okay. When you hear that sound, that means we had our hot seat question segment. Our hot seat question is now left up to the fate of the audience. That's right. I went to Instagram to ask our peers what they wanted to ask for this week's hot seat question. If you want your question to be featured on next week's episode, make sure you go to my profile, click that icon, and follow me on Instagram, and look out for that hot seat question post. No, do not ask me if I'm single. The answer is yes, so leave that one alone, okay? I'm tired of that one. But now is the time to enter in the comments who on the panel you want to answer tonight's hot seat question. Go ahead and enter in the comments right now. Now she trying to put me on blast here. That was wild, boy.
I'm gonna put that there.
Oh, we got G, we got Mel, we got Strawberry, we got G. Ooh, I'm seeing. Ooh, you guys are kind of tired.
There's a tie between Mel and him.
We got Strawberry.
You can't write it again. That's it.
Two.
That's two. That's one.
All right, we need a tiebreaker, y'all. So I'm gonna need y'all to wake up in the comments. Who on the panel do y'all on? Oh, hey now, hold on. Okay, I hope we just say hi. Ooh, we got Mel.
Mel.
All right, Mel Bell, it's on you, baby. Don't. Hey, listen. I do run this show. I can change my answer at any moment. You know.
I have a question for you after. So
Okay. Okay. So, but do remember we do have an hour, y'all. So let's get through this part. But the question. Someone wrote in this week and asked, actually, you know what? I wrote this question, okay? I'm not going to even lie to y'all. So y'all need to quit asking me if I'm single and actually enter in some dang questions, okay? I'm not even going to lie, okay? I'm not going to be insecure about that y'all just be asking one question. But tonight's question is, if you had to choose one of your insecurities to expose in front of a group of people that you care about deeply, and we're not talking about even what you exposed tonight, what would it be and why, and what would you hope to gain from that experience?
Can you repeat that again? Because I'm trying to find a way to word this properly.
If you had to choose one of your deepest insecurities to expose in front of a group of people that you care about deeply, which would it be and why? And what would you hope to gain from that experience?
Okay, so I don't want this to sound.
Go ahead.
I know that like the initial response of excuse me for my words. I'm usually good with my words, but I feel like as secure as I feel and grounded as I feel right now in my life, I still struggle and you know, which I have a question for you, Miss Jen, of the insecurity of like the struggle of seeing myself through everyone else's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm a good person, right? Like I know that, like I live my life to be a, to be kind and be a good person, and by no means, and like I know that I like all my worth and my catch. So, like if anybody understands, like what I'm feeling, but like that validity of like not apologizing, because I feel like when we fully like lose, like release that control, we're no longer apologizing, right? So like anybody who knows me on and off the app knows that like I aim to live my life unapologetically, but there's still something there that always makes me apologize, and I think if anything is to put that on the table of kind of just putting it all out there and being like, you know what, I am great, and without needing to apologize afterward, to stand firm on it and know that I'm not being arrogant, because that is such a struggle for me. And I know for me, just for my own personal journey, like it would be, I'm still waiting to fully for the day I'm headed in the right direction, but but I think it goes hand in hand with what I wanted to ask you if we have time later, is really, let's not talk about our insecurities. What got us there? You had great parents, right? But like there was something there that you saw, and I truly believe that. Just like our trauma responses, there is something that was indented on why we think that. Whether it was something that like I know now my mom did all that she could, but could she have done better? That played an insecurity of like, I don't want to put my kid, or like if it is a vicious cycle and we inherit those traits, I don't want what I went through with my kid. So that was where my insecurity was. It wasn't to it wasn't to put emphasis on judgment on her, because I can have compassion for her now, but that's where it came from. So I'm hearing you talk about like everything and the insecurity of like this horrible traumatic thing that happened, and they're all valid. But where did the insecurity come in that you allowed that to happen? Do you get what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
something in there, as great as your upbringing was, and you saw it came from a loving home, something in there, was there something that was said? Could you go back and be like, that is what I heard and it stuck in my head, and now I'm forever convinced that somebody, just because they look pretty to somebody else, is worth more than my word?
I can actually answer that
I'm not putting you
question.
out.
I think it actually comes from myself. I'm my own worst enemy. I have this unrealistic expectation of myself, not even other people, because I can let people do a whole lot of stuff and I let it slide. But when it comes to myself, I feel like I know that I'm better than the things or choices that I've made. And it's like I think I get angry or upset because like why didn't I see it, and this is something that actually I've talked about even in therapy, and she said that it's just that hyper vigilance. It's always like looking for the thing like that I could have figured out, but she had to just blankly telling me that it's not your fault. People shield you, they wear masks and things of that sort. And so it's really just that hyper vigilance and hyper insecurity of my own self that I know that I could do better. I have this like perfectionist complex in my own self that I feel like I can, if I don't meet up to my own standard of how I want something to go, that I'm like less than, or that people are gonna look at me like, oh, there it is, there's the insecurity, it's right there, and but it's
Yeah, and
not
I feel
how
like we
people
all
look at me.
have
but
that, but
but
I mean,
that's
I could
why I
be
think
wrong.
people also love me, because when I get on here, I don't sugarcoat. I'm not Willy Wonka, and I want to think shit so bad, but I don't sugarcoat anything. I give it to you guys raw, and that's also what he said. But I show you guys the good, the bad, the ugly, and the reason why I do that is to show you that we're not all perfect. I might be here on this app and I might have all these millies and favorites and all that, but I am a very flawed, imperfect person as God made me to be. I'm not going to be ever be perfect, and I have to even let down that part from I have to also allow myself to understand that even in my imperfection is beauty, because I'm not ever gonna be perfect. I'm not ever gonna be perfect. I'm not ever gonna, be all that anyone wants me to be. But I'm going to be me fully and unapologetically, and that's something that I've had to grow to accept, and something I still very much work on, because I'm a Virgo and we like to be perfect at everything.
She
But
never
yeah.
did to me.
Not too much on us.
um, but y'all, I do thank you for having that follow up question because that's something I think that something I'm very much working on. You know, like I said, I go to therapy every week, and that's something that even I say, you know. But if you guys are just pulling up, that's okay. You guys have not missed much. We still have a lot more to discuss. You can find us every Saturday on the Red Room Talk at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just discussed, can you share a moment in your life when you felt most insecure, and how did that you cope with that feeling? In what ways can societal standards and media representations contribute to feelings of insecurity? But now I want to talk about relationships. Insecurities can manifest in various ways, subtly influencing the dynamics of relationships. When individuals harbor feelings of self doubt, it can lead to misunderstandings, miscommunications, and a constant need for reassurance. This internal struggle may cause one to overanalyze their partner's actions or words, often interpreting them through a lens of anxiety rather than trust. As a result, what might be a benign situation can quickly escalate into a source of tension or conflict. These insecurities, while deeply personal, can create barriers that hinder emotional intimacy and connection, leaving both partners feeling isolated and misunderstood. Exploring and addressing these feelings is crucial for nurturing healthy, more fulfilling relationships. So that next question is,
How do you think insecurities in a partner can affect the dynamic of a relationship? And and what can individuals do to navigate this effectively? Effectively, sorry.
Let's go, sir.
Um, from the guy's point of view, if you're dealing with a woman that has insecurity, first of all, you have to understand that it's going to take patience to make things work. But not only patience, but it's going to take communication. Because a lot of times from a man's perspective, a lot of times when a woman is feeling insecure, she tends to shut down, which makes us have to work that much harder. And then a lot of guys will, instead of working hard, they tend to just want to leave the relationship and that's it, that I don't want to deal with this, I can't deal with this, and everything else. Instead of looking at the fact that we're both human, she's the one I love. Let me find out what's actually going on beneath the surface so we can fix it together. And like I said, a lot of that takes communication. And if we're not communicating, and the same thing goes the other way, because us men will shut down in a heartbeat. We are the masters of shutting down, especially when it comes to issues of insecurity and everything else. We will shut down things in a heartbeat. You will try to ask us a million times what's wrong, and we will tell you nothing. But in the same time, in our head, we're having a war with our insecurities and what may have been going on and everything else. And then we're showing even more of that insecurity because we're not willing to show our partner that, hey, these are my issues. These are my issues. This is what's going on. This is where I'm hurt. This is where I feel that I'm lacking. What do you see? And a lot of us guys are afraid to ask that question. Hey, this is where I'm lacking. What do you? This is where I feel that I'm lacking. What do you see? This is how I feel that I'm not loving you properly. I'm not protecting you properly. I'm not providing for you properly. I'm not giving you everything that I thought I would be able to give you. How do you think I can accomplish this better? Versus, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want her to leave, and if she does leave, then I'm going to feel even worse about myself. And we just, it's like I said, it's that communication.
for sure.
I didn't mean for everybody
I
to be
can
quiet.
agree and partially disagree. Well, I appreciate your opinion and your accountability on speaking for men. I won't speak for all women, but I will say from my experience of being in a situation and being friends with several women from different walks of life, women also have a capability. They're either overly emotional because they're insecure and they portray it in such ways, or they completely shut down. And so, and I think I will be completely honest with you. You know, I got I was in a relationship from both perspectives. I was in a relationship where I felt like the communication, and it would have been easier to say that. And it's funny because I literally just spoke to that person yesterday because I've gotten into that point. I would never even think I would be able to have that conversation with him of like, these are things that you did, but being honest that we talk about communication being important, but the reality is it's not there for a reason, right? So like, why isn't that there? What do we do while we're working on this idea that it should be there when it's not? You know, because I feel like it goes hand in hand, not necessarily speaking for men or women. It's like who allows us in general to feel transparent, you know, and like that's one big word for me. It goes beyond trust and everything. It's or comfort. It's like the transparency of like I can say that like like, you know, going back to what Mistress says, we might love and care for all our friends, but there's a select few that we feel transparent, you know, enough to say things for, whether they say the right things or maybe we have that person that we need them to be blunt with us, right? And so, you know, that being said, I was in a relationship where there was an emotional disconnection and the insecurity. It was like, I'm not worthy. And when I found out that that person trusted somebody else, the insecurity then kicked in of like, why wasn't I worthy of, you know, being the person that you can turn to? And communication wasn't the issue. I just wasn't the person that offered him that comfort. And it took me a long time to be like, that's okay. I just wasn't, right? And then I met a man that was all by the book, very communicative. Like, I want to know the things, I want to know the things that upset you, the things that make you happy. And I'll be completely honest with you. I was like the other person. And I was like so foreign to it, like so many things that we have in our life, and was like, oh my God. And but honestly, I grew and I learned from both of them because I realized that when it comes to insecurity and being with a partner, there is no right or wrong. There's no white or black answer. I think it honestly depends who. That's just a sad thing. Some people are just emotionally, subconsciously more validated in our life. That's just the reality of it. And what that is like. Are you going to turn away from somebody that had a traumatic, experience, like you just said, and be like, "Oh, am I going to be the bad guy or bad girl to walk away?" Or are you somebody that didn't even emotionally connect, so you don't even care to begin with? There is no fault to you because you weren't listening to begin with, right? So there is no like the insecurity is like you win or lose. So like honestly, my opinion with that is like there is no right or wrong. And my opinion and my experience with that, I think it honestly depends sadly on who and what does that insecurity look like in that relationship. Could it have been something that you said? Could you have spoken to me in a way that another partner did or another family member did that was traumatic for me? Nothing to do with you, but I'm not even thinking about that. You've already said something that triggered me and I'm like, I'm over it, right? So the wall's already up.
Right. Mistress?
Well, like Triple G said, communication. I've always said, and being patient. And that's something I've always say. I think I said it like 3 times already on this show. Patience. Like Mama also said, you don't know what somebody went through. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's something they went through. Maybe, like, you know, as much as we don't want to bring our past into something new when we're dealing with somebody, sometimes that trickles into it. Because even through your healing process, you think that you're fully healed, but you won't know until you're in another relationship, and certain things might trigger you. And this is where communication comes in, and this is where being patient, because to really care for somebody and to walk with them through all that, it takes a lot of patience and love for that. And I feel like sometimes, like I don't want to say this newer generation, but this time of dating, people not like they don't care. It's just, oh well, it is what it is. I'm gonna go with the flow. Or it's like, well, we don't gotta talk about it, and it just keep on moving, and it lingers.
On
But they're
both
not
sides.
talking. They're not
Brushing
having
under
those
the rug.
conversations.
All right.
Right.
So you can either make or break a relationship. I'm gonna tell you, I've interacted with men who were probably some of the most gorgeous men, at least in my opinion, but they had some of the worst insecurities, and they thought that they were ugly or unworthy or something because they looked at me in a different light. But I'm gonna tell you, especially as a streamer, that is something that I deal with encountering men and the men in generals, because they look at me like, oh, you have all these followers or you have all these men who come in here and hit on you. But if I'm giving you my time, why are you worried about what anybody else is saying? I'm giving you my undivided attention. I'm giving you my time. And so I get a lot of the insecurity when it like revolves around being a streamer, or because they think I'm attractive or whatever. Like, yeah, but what if I look at you that way? What if I look at you as the most gorgeous? What if I look at you as handsome? And, you know, of course, if you in real life, let's talk about that. You know, it's not just on the stream, but in real life, I can go to the gas station looking disheveled. I don't know why it's that way, but whenever I look the worst going to the gas station, it'd be when I get hit on the most. I don't know why, but it just happens that way. But it could be the gas station, it could be the grocery store, it could be the corner market, it could be the bank, it could be anywhere. You know, it's gonna happen. But I think when it comes to insecurity in themselves is something when I see, I can't stroke your ego all day long. I can't. And it's not saying I'm not gonna reassure you, because I'm very much a words of affirmation person. I'm gonna tell you how handsome you are and how, you know, proud of you I am and things like that. But there's only so far that I can go with words. And even I can show you how much I love you and adore you, but it's ultimately up to you. It's called self-esteem. You know, the esteem of yourself. You know what I'm saying? So there's only so much I can do for you, you know, to some extent. Of course, like I said, I can give you words of affirmation and all that, but there's only so much I can do, and it comes down to you believing in you, that you're worthy, that you're awesome, and all these things. You know, at the end of the day, that, you know, that's something deeper in you that you have to heal, and I can't do that for you. That's your own journey that you have to go on. Because I've even had insecurities. You know, I've been a thicker girl most of my life now. I'm saying that's in now, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, there was a time in which that I felt insecure about that. Now I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never, you know, my body ain't never kept me from nothing but a pair of jeans. So we'll just go with that. But if y'all are just pulling up, that's okay. You guys can find me every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Red Room Talk, y'all. You guys have not missed it all. We have a little bit more to discuss. I think we got like 2 more questions. I know we're very boisterous people. But we did just discuss a moment in your life when you felt most insecure. What ways do societal standards and media represent contribute to feelings of insecurity? And then we also talked about how you cope with that feeling. How do you think insecurities in a partner can affect the dynamics of a relationship? But now let's talk about confrontation. Confronting someone about their insecurities can be a delicate endeavor, often requiring a thoughtful approach that prioritizes empathy and understanding instead of directly addressing the issues. It might be more effective to create a supportive atmosphere. By gently encouraging an open dialogue and actively listening, you can help them explore their insecurities without making them feel judged or exposed. Ultimately, the goal should be to foster a sense of trust and reassurance, allowing them to navigate their feelings at their own pace. So that next question is,
if you had to confront someone about their insecurities, but they reacted defensively, how would you navigate that situation without escalating the conflict? Is he already jumped back first?
Is he frozen?
oh, I think so.
Triple G?
Hello?
Hello?
He'll be back.
I think it's frozen.
He'll be back.
He froze.
Okay, because I was like, did he freeze or is he just
Sitting really still, because we know I'd be doing that online, like,
right? I'm shy.
right. That was a good one.
How convenient, sir. Not Triple G.
So what would you do, Mel Bell, if you had to confront someone about their insecurities?
I'll be completely honest with you. I personally wouldn't do that. I'm a dork and a cheeseball, and I'm not going to say that it's a great thing. So this is not like highlighting myself. I struggle with this. This has also bit me in the ass. Or sorry,
No,
but
you're all right. Listen, we are grown. We're grown, grown.
is that I when people are like that, I try my best to put them in a situation where they're highlighted. Um, because I know that I've personally struggled, like, even being on the stream, like that has been, while it sounds weird, it has been a way of me interacting with how other people see you and perceive you to kind of like get out of my bubble. And even then, it's still hard, right? So I just figured like sometimes you just need somebody to just to call them out on their insecurity is really highlight reeling them, and this is what I mean. Check on your people, hype them up. There's nothing wrong with you lighting the light for somebody else. But again, I think we that it's not a common thing that people do, at least not in my opinion. I think that people, when they hype somebody up, it's either because they get perceived as fake or like nice, or it's for benefit. And it's like read the room, the truth always comes to light, right? And so I think for me, if it came out negative, I feel like people, with anything you say to them, whether you're calling them out, if they're already like tempted to respond as opposed to listening, they were never listening to begin with. And it was always going to be about like you pinpoint. It's also about how you approach it too. Let's be honest. Some of us are great with words, and some of us aren't. Some of us sound like jerks when we speak, and that's why I think insecurities come into place. We said something we genuinely didn't mean in a way or a tone, and poof, you've triggered someone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I think it has. I know for my experience, a lot of the times it has to deal with tone. I already have a heavy voice, so sometimes I have to check myself when I'm talking because, especially if I'm checking someone about their insecurities, because then it can seem like I'm attacking, which will immediately put them in the defensive. So once I realize they're in the defensive to de-escalate it, not only do I soften my voice, but I soften my approach and kind of explain to them, look, this is exactly what I'm saying. But not only this is what I'm saying, but this is how it's affecting me. This is how I'm feeling towards what's going on now. I know maybe you don't want to talk about this right now, but when you are ready and willing to talk about it, know that I'm here. And sometimes that's really all it takes is them knowing that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
And you backing away from it just a little bit because sometimes we want to get that answer now, so we constantly want to punch that wall. And look, we want to get the answer now. No, sometimes it's best to look, soften your voice, soften your approach, take a step back. Whenever you're ready to talk about it, no matter what it is, know that I'm ready and willing to listen, even if it's in the middle of my football game and I'm watching my football game, but now you want to talk. Okay, let me turn off the TV so we can talk.
Mm-hmm.
I can find out the scores later. I might be mad about it later, but I can find out the scores later. But now is the time to talk because now you're comfortable enough to explain to me exactly what was going on
Mm-hmm.
before when you felt defensive. Because apparently, when you felt defensive, I stepped on a toe or I triggered something that I didn't realize that I triggered. So now it's time for me to step back and realize and listen to you and open up to you and let you have control to where you're having control to present your insecurities to me because we're in that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mistress.
Um, well, it goes back to when you're little. They act like I treat people the way I would want to be treated. I've always been like that. So me personally, I don't like when people are on me too much, or they be like, "Oh, what's going on?" I tend to shut down. Once somebody's in my face too much, or really trying to like, "Oh, I want to know what's going on now," I don't want to talk to you. So how I approach it is a way that obviously tone. Because I'm from New York, we aggressive, okay, naturally. We loud, we aggressive. Sometimes, my tone can be a little crazy, but like what you said, I tone it down. I try to make them feel as comfortable as possible. Yeah, scary. Make them feel comfortable as possible, and when they're ready, they will tell me. Like if there's something that, like he said, they don't want to talk about it now. When you're ready, you'll approach me, because I'm the same way. Nobody wants somebody down their throat about something if they're not ready to speak up on it. And I feel like some people, they can't help because they get insecure, they get anxious. They're like, well, I need to know what's going on. Sometimes that you just gotta give them a moment.
I'm going to be honest. I am very team talk about the elephant in the room. And the reason why is because am I really your friend if I don't tell you about yourself? Not saying I'm going to say it in a mean way, but if it's something that's affecting me, I'm very much going to say something. Now, if you act defensively, I'm either going to just leave it alone altogether and just walk away from it, or I'm going to try a different approach. Now, you can't walk away from something, especially if it's affecting me. And that means that it could be affecting our relationship, our friendship, what have you, because at some point you have to take accountability that what you're doing is affecting me. And if you don't care that it affects me, well, then by all means, maybe you're not for me. And I hate to say it like that, but it probably sounds harsh. And especially y'all know me, I'm a sensitive, I'm a lover at heart.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like for me, I had to get to this place because a lot of people, would like have insecurities, and then I would have to be the one to always walk around them or tiptoe around them, but yet you didn't tiptoe around hurting my feelings. So it's like I had to come to a place where, like, you know what, while I understand your side, but you also need to understand that my side, that you're hurting me. And that comes with, especially in romantic relationships, because you push something under a rug, eventually that bump under the rug is going to be visible to anyone else. Yeah, you could probably hide it for so long, like, oh, company's here, let's just put that under the rug, say, but eventually you're going to have to deal with that because you're going to see it. It's going to be very apparent. It's going to be very in your face. So I feel like without escalating the conflict, I'm gonna leave it alone for now. But I'm gonna come at you and I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna confront you again, and maybe I can say it in a different manner, because I feel like it's not always just communication, but it's also how you take something. You know what I'm saying? Like how are you? What's the word I'm looking for? How are you interpreting what I'm saying? So maybe I'm not saying it in the right way, and I'll approach it in a different way. But like I said, if it's something that's bothering me, like if you have this insecurity, and it could be like, oh, well, all these dudes talk to you, or all that, but well, I'm gonna have to talk to you about that but you know me. And if you know me better than that, that should not be something that you're insecure about. But that tells me there's something deep rooted in you that we need to get to the root of and find out what that is and why you feel that way, because I've never done anything that's made you feel that way. Or say it could be, and I know this is something I dealt with, or someone came to me and said, well, why didn't you tell anyone? And I was insecure about that. And I actually got very defensive. And I had to simply tell them myself, like, that's my fucking story to tell. It doesn't matter what you feel or what your opinion is, and someone could very well say that to me. But I feel like at some point there's a difference in not just trying to communicate it, but also interpretation and taking it in. So if you didn't learn it the first time, then I have to teach you a different way. So that's really all I got to say about that.
I don't want to take over too much time, but while I'm going to kindly practice to respond to that, because I do disagree on 3 points. And again, this is just my opinion, and just, and it's just to share my opinion with you. With that in hand, I feel like when you're talking about connections, we keep putting so much emphasis, in my opinion, on the romanticized part. When you're with a friend, are your friends really your friends if they can't have compassion and grace for you? That you are, well, hold on. Because when we're saying, like, I went through something, And
Yeah.
so, like, because I've lost some friendships that I really, it makes me sad, because while that person might have gone through something similar to me, it wasn't mine. It wasn't my
Right.
story, and they might have overcome it differently, the way they approach things. And it wasn't just with me; it was a pattern of like, if you don't live your life according to me because I went through it,
Right.
therefore, like, you don't validate me. So, like, where is the like room for compassion
Oh, of
and
course.
respect for like of being like, I'm not going to just sever the rope, because the same way that that person supposedly doesn't validate your opinion or to hear you out, where is the respect and compassion for their opinion of like, hey, I need a moment because you are now the other, like the shoes falling on the other side. And now I know that you're the type of person that if I don't immediately put my guard down, like because I don't feel emotionally okay right now, not because of you, then it's like you've already made the assumption that I don't value you or care about you as a friend enough to trust you, when that has maybe nothing to do with it, right? So I feel like it has to be important that also there has to be room, and like, and I can take full responsibility. Like, I think I've been on both ends of that as well. Like, I'm not going to sit there and say you're right or I'm wrong. Like, this is just my opinion of like, when we go through things, we subconsciously assume that we know it all. And it's with the best of intentions. When you love your friend, you don't want your friend to go through something you've gone through, it, the trauma sticking in, right?
Yeah.
The insecurity, like, you're like, shit, this happened to me. I
Right.
don't want, mistress to go through it. I don't want Jen to go through it. So
Hmm.
we're just like automatically put ourselves there where like that's not our place.
Or you try
And
to
then
fix
I
it.
know mistress is not a person. If I'm coming at her, she's gonna be like, you know what, Mel? We're just not going to talk right now, because her wall is now up, when at the very core of it, I was only acting that way because my trauma, my issue was, getting triggered. And so I think like there has to be a thing of like, we have to like consistently, and this is just my opinion, remind ourselves that just because all four of us have a similar story, it is not the same journey. There has to be space and compassion, that you don't have to live my life according. I can give you all the words, I can give you all the suggestions,
Hmm.
but there has to be genuine space and respect and room in there to be like, I'm not saying that I'm not going to have your back and be in your corner if you don't do it the same way.
Right. And I'm not
For
saying not to
example,
have
wait.
compassion. Oh, trust me. But I'm saying if it's something that's affecting me negatively and it's
Mm,
hurting me, also have compassion that whatever it is that you're doing or whatever it is that is hurting me. That's like being with a jealous partner and you can't even walk down the street or wear something certain, or you're trying to control something. That's where the part I was coming in. But that's why I also spoke on also being the person who got defensive when people were questioning me, why didn't I do this, why didn't, because it's my story. And so
Right.
you have to kind of come from both ends, like, well, how did
mm-hmm.
I feel when that comes? But if it's something that's affected me negatively, then it's something we have to get to the root of. Not like I'm saying I don't have compassion, because trust me, I'm one of the most loving, compassionate
And
people
I agree with you, but I
to the
just feel like
core.
it needed to be
Oh yeah,
rectified that that's not what we were thinking. I'm
right,
like
right,
that.
right, right. Of course, but I
Wait,
do
but the
appreciate that.
perfect example is Jen was going through what she went through, and I did too. And I was
Yeah,
the only person that knew she was going through it, but I let her be because I know what it is to be in that situation. But like you said, I gave her space, I gave her time, and I just let her know that I was there, because I thought of it as if I had someone there when I was going through the same thing, just to know that I had somebody on my side would make it a little bit more easier. And I waited for her to, do what she had to do, but I was there through it all.
And I'll be honest with you, I had also gone through that. And when it came to my attention, it broke my heart on so many levels. But I also knew to read the room and the space, that while I love and care for
Mm-hmm.
you, we've always had respect for each other on and off this space, Jen. Like, I won't lie, like, Mistress and I had a different connection. So, like, I'm not going to lie, it didn't make it right, right? But I know my intentions were, like, telling Mistress, like, hey, I'm glad she has you there. Let her know that she has, like, a tribe. But I'm not going to lie to you. If I had put a head on to you, I would have been on my own like mental like triggering journey to have nothing to do with you, right? So if I had gone in there and said things, I wouldn't say then. I like I said, I've been at fault for doing it before in a different manner. Now I can be conscious of being like, I'm probably not the person to talk to her right now, because I'm just like angered by what had happened. So
right.
I could be the person, not even listening so much through the pain and trauma that you went through, but like the rights and wrong of it. And basically, like, like subconsciously selfish to my like trigger, right? Of like, I don't want you to go through this because I know what happened because I did this and this is wrong. And like, and I might have not known the whole core of it, right? Like the reality is that we have deeper connections with people all around us at different levels. And we personalize those and shut people out that could be great in our life, even romantically, friends wise, family wise. I mean, people just assume that because you're related to somebody that there is no toxicity or that you need to sever the rope. And people need to be reminded that you have permission to cut off and anybody, not necessarily to be malicious, but for your own safety and peace of mind. And that, and your mental health is part of your safety. You know what I'm saying? So not to jump completely off, but I did want you to, like, when I said that to you, I wanted to like own up that, like, for me it's hard of like, I heard all these words and I'm like, no, 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 because I would never want you, like, if you were like to come to me and to think like Mel doesn't understand me or she doesn't care. I just maybe was clearly, like Mistress says, we go through things in our life, we consider ourselves so healed, but it's until that one story, whether it's happening to us personally or just hearing, that we're just like, oh whoa, like this looks familiar, I don't like it. And I could have reacted differently, and you could have very well been like, you know, she's not understanding, and all of those feelings would have been validated, but it wouldn't have made it factual.
Right, right.
Okay.
If y'all are just pulling up, it's not okay. I was gonna say it's okay, but it's not okay, okay? Because we are actually late and behind, okay? We got one last question though. I'm not even gonna go through. We discussed a whole lot. You should have been here, okay? But confronting your insecurities can be a transformative journey, inviting you to explore layers of self-doubt that often hold you back. It involves a courageous look in the mirror where you acknowledge the fears that shape your thoughts and behaviors. By embracing vulnerability and fostering self-compassion, you can gradually dismantle these barriers, paving the way for personal growth and a deeper understanding of your true self. The process, though challenging, can lead to a profound sense of empowerment and resilience. So that very last question is,
In what ways do you think confronting your insecurities have contributed to your personal growth or understanding of yourself?
I'm,
I can pick somebody. I'm gonna pick somebody.
Um, for one, if I didn't address my insecurities, I would not be here. One of the things that I did to address my insecurities is, and I don't think I've shared this with anybody before, but what I did was I have a full length mirror in my bedroom. And what I did was I took a grease pencil while I stood in front of the mirror and I wrote down every single insecurity that I had about myself. And then what I did was I made it in my mind to where at least every day I'm addressing one of those insecurities. So as I addressed them, I would erase that insecurity, and then I would keep on moving. But I made sure, because that was the mirror that I was getting dressed in, so I saw those insecurities, so I knew I was addressing them. But then I would also do something that was the complete opposite of that insecurity. Like, one of my insecurities was talking in front of people. I hated talking in front of people because I would get different reactions because of my voice. So I hated talking in front of people. So what did I do? I created an account on here to where now every time I'm on here, people are coming through, people that I don't even know, people from different countries and everything else, and it forces me to talk. It forces me to communicate. And it forces me to put myself out there. So really, it's pretty much you addressing it to yourself however you decide to address it. And moving forward and accomplishing it and realizing that you're actually accomplishing something too. Because I don't think a lot of times we give ourselves that pat on the back as we're moving forward and as we're taking those steps. We're looking for other people to notice it and to congratulate us for what we're doing instead of us congratulating ourselves on what we're doing. And then at the end, look back, look where you came from to where you are now. Before I was that guy that would be in the club or something like that, all the way in the back of the room. Now I'm here with Jen, Mistress, and Mel, and we're talking. So you have to look back where you came from, look at where you are now, and congratulate yourself about it, and keep moving forward. Come on, ladies, jump in. Let's go.
I think for me, um, well, I take accountability for the control and the power that I give any said opinion that might cast my insecurities, whether it's my own words to myself. I think for me, a big thing facing them that was part of that journey for me more recently was voicing to the people that I felt it didn't. I'm not saying that they did that this was their intention, right? I'm not saying that, but that I felt contributed to that, and the empowerment of being like what you said or what you put me through. This is the role that it played, and with those, like as an example, like I was, I'm 41 years old, and it wasn't until last year around this time around the holidays that I was finally able to tell my mom, like, even when I had to dig deep to know that, like, as a mom, you would like to think that your mom has the very best of intentions for you, right? They too are human and don't know how to use the right words, but how much power, like even her so-called advice, suggestions played into my insecurity, from growing up to being a mom to being a wife to being in a relationship, whether it was like a comment of like this relationship ended, or any comment played a role in that. So for me to even voice that to her was a step into breaking that insecurity for me. Even yesterday, I'll be honest with you, talking to somebody that I thought I would never get over, that relationship hurt more than my 11-year marriage ending hurt. And it played such a role in like how I saw myself. And believe it or not, it made me grow because I saw the other side of it. But I was able to tell him, like, I pride myself of now of admitting that I get such a like emotional, personal female accomplishment of being like, I know that I'm a catch. He can come back. He wouldn't be entertaining otherwise. But I feel empowered to know of like, you might be a great person. You're just not great for me. And I'm secure enough in myself to know that. And it's not to belittle you. You are just not what I need and I deserve at this time. And I can voice that. And that to me was breaking the insecurity. And I think a lot, going hand in hand with loving ourselves is putting ourselves in that perspective. We see the light coming in at even the sick thing, like even when somebody really hurt us, like really traumatized us, that they too, like that was also their flaw, right? Like that was their flaw in their journey. But like saying it out loud and being like, your flaw contributed to my downfall, whether it was intended or not, it did. And for me to say it out loud was such an empowerment and breaking of it, to be honest. And that was just yesterday.
Mistress?
Well, for me, I feel like when confronting my insecurities, anyone that's known my journey for the last 2 years knows I've done a lot of work on myself and just things around me in general, having to start over from scratch all over again. Um, but I will say I took accountability for what roles I've played in in any situation. I've taken I know what parts I've played. Even if I was the villain in someone's story, I take accountability for it. For that, I feel like before it was just like I was only reacting on what was done to me and not what I contribute to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I felt obviously when I at a point in time that I felt like I wasn't okay, I go to therapy. Jen knows that I go to therapy all the time, every week. Um, mentally, I make sure I'm okay, that I'm good. But taking accountability is one step, and knowing what I'm doing that isn't right. Like knowing that you're doing and what can I do to change that.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be honest. I remember literally when I made that post telling my truth. My hands were literally trembling. I was shaking. I was crying, and I felt like I was pushed into doing that because of the situation. Um, but after that, the weight that was off of my shoulders um, was like pounds and pounds and pounds of weight that I had lifted because I didn't have to hide anymore. Um, and I think that was like my biggest insecurity was holding on to that truth. Like now all these people are believing this other stuff, but me telling my truth and doing it my way took so much weight off of me because I didn't have to hide. I didn't have to lie. I didn't have to. I could be my. I could tell my truth like I always have on here. I've never really sugarcoated anything with y'all. Y'all have known about my surgeries, my illnesses, all these things. Like I'm very, listen, I'm imperfect, but the people who still love me and things like that, you know, that you guys make it easier to be more vulnerable with you guys. But that contributed to my personal growth because I think it even allowed me to see myself in a different light that I wasn't a victim, I was a survivor. And I hated when people be like, I'm so proud of you. And I hated it. I was like, why are you proud of me? Like, whoa. And I didn't understand it, but now I'm proud of me too. And so just to kind of look at myself in a different light from other people's lens, I couldn't understand it. But you know, therapy helped me tremendously. It's something that I still go to. I still do it every week. I still talk to them. That's like my bestie also. I wish she was my bestie, but you know, but just to look at myself through a different set of eyes, you know, to hear other people say these things. And at first I was kind of like fighting tooth and nail to not hear it because I'm like, no, 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 no. But when you stop and look at yourself and you realize that, you know, I wasn't, you know, we're not always going to be perfect and we go through life and go through things. I think I was able to look at myself. Like I said, I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a survivor. And so that really took a lot of weight off of me and to just be and to tell my truth. And now I'm able to tell it. I said it, I don't still cry sometimes. I don't have moments because I very much have to hold it in sometimes. But, you know, I just can tell my truth unapologetically and not feel bad about it. But y'all, this is the Red Room Talk. I'm sorry, we have a lot of long-winded people up here, and we are very love to talk. So, but we always come to a place of healing, a place of, you know, understanding, and I do a quote every week. So we'll end it with a quote, and then let y'all give your outros. And if anyone wants to get in the box and talk, smoke, whatever it is you like to do, partake in, you guys can do that. But this week's quote is, "In the shadows of our insecurities, we often find the richest soil for growth. For it is in confronting our fears that we discover the strength we never knew we possessed, transforming vulnerability into resilience." Y'all, this is the Red Room Talk. I love each and every one of y'all. I've enjoyed this show very thoroughly. So y'all go ahead and give your outros. Of course, ladies first. Go ahead and give your outros, and then I'll give mine, and then we'll play a little Diddy No Diddy.
My name is Melville again. You can find me on the lovely streets of Matey. But if you catch me on this side, I'm usually somewhere around the vicinity of these ladies. Thank you so much, Jen and Mistress. I'm about to say, refrain from the legal. For inviting me. I genuinely appreciate it. It's always a great conversation. Congratulations to you both on your new show. I haven't had the pleasure of chiming in just yet, but I think it's called Her, and that's something really. And Jen, without sounding too emotional, I'm proud of you, and you should be proud of you. And thank you for just having this platform. And Triple G, it was so nice to meet you. I've seen you in the comments or on and about, but it's very nice to have you talking.
You're trying to make me blush. Okay.
Is it working?
A little. No, I'm Triple G, of course. GGG, however you want to call me.
Triple G.
Um, you'll find me running around tag. Most of the time, I'm streaming at night, except for on Saturdays. Saturdays, you will find me here, locked and loaded, ready to engage in the conversation. Um, if you ever need me, I'm usually one of those ones to where if you need me, if you come into my live, I will stop my live and talk with you. If there's something I can do, if there's something that we just need to stay up all night talking because you need someone to talk to, that's what we'll do. But most of the time, you'll find me at night. Sometimes you'll find me during the day, but on Saturdays, this is where you'll find me.
I'm the co-host, Mr. Strawberry, aka Fresita, Fresa, whatever. You can catch me here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch me here every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, with Jen and Juice and our other co-host, Vicky Secrets. And I stream here and there. I still stream on Meet Me here and there. It's like, catch me if you can. Like, I'm like, you know, a
Drive by
ghost,
too long.
basically.
Well,
And I have a show that I've been in the works for like the last 2 years. That we're getting
finally,
there. Finally,
there.
finally. We'll see.
Maybe next week we'll have a teaser. We'll see. But I am Jen and Juice. I am the host of this show right here, right now. Sorry we're a little late, y'all, but you know, it was a great conversation, so I appreciate y'all. But you guys can also find me not only here on Saturdays, but you guys can find me on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. also with Mistress and our other co-host Vicky. And I do have that new show. Be watching Instagram. I'll be start posting soon. Jen got the hookup. I'm very excited. It's something I love. So if you know me, I'm a lover at heart. So I'm gonna help y'all find love, hopefully. So catch me December 6th. That'll be Fridays at 8 p.m. For Jen got the hookup. So tap in. We're gonna have a lot of content here. I'm a very much a content streamer. So catch me late nights and early mornings. And hopefully I can get this to play a little ditty. No ditty, Lord. Oh, hold on. Or not.
I guess it's a no diddy.
No ditty tonight. How about that? Well, we're just gonna end it. No, we're not ending the live. Just the song, Lord.